Can you have too much plastic in your tackle box? I don't think so. If you look in my tackle box, I got so much plastic in there you think I could start a small store. That's what we're going to talk about today in my tackle box. Okay, let's take a look at some of the tackle I have in my box here. You know, on my side pockets here, I usually put a lot of these packaged goods, so they're ready to go when you go out on the boat. Now this is a rage tail. That's a great way to start with the plastic. Rage tail is one of my favorite baits because you can hook them up with the with the hook with the weight on it, cast it in the shallow water. It's quite unique. It works everywhere. I like it when you're fishing slop or shallow water with reeds, especially when you're getting those elephant reeds and so forth. You can slide it through there, and the little tails in the back, they just go like this, and it works great. I mean, you really can hit some bass in the shallows and pick up a few, maybe a bonus northern now and then. So I always have a lot of these in the boat ready to go, especially when I'm fishing with more than one person in the boat. They go through them pretty quickly when you start hitting them. Sometimes you don't even need a bait, just a hook and cast it out there and let it drop. The other plastics I got here, this here is a unique plastic I'll show you that a company sent to me a number of years ago to try out, and I have tried them. This is the last two packages I got, and I'm not sure where you can get them anymore, but they're out there. They're true tungsten, and they work really quite well. What they are is a soft plastic worm, and the worm itself is like other worms. It just has a little tail that falls down nicely. But they're weighted. The weight is in part of the worm itself. The unique part of that is you can just hook it with a hook of the size you want in the area you're fishing and just let it fall. Cast it out there and let it fall, and there's no other apparatus on your line down in your hook. It's a very clean way to fish. And if you use a reedless hook on that, you can get through just about anything. And again, no weight, weight's built in, and they come in a couple different sizes and a couple different weights, and they're pretty unique. And I have had some success with them because they work like any other worm, very thin, kind of a flat tail back, works well. The other thing, when it comes to plastics too, another really great plastic is the Swimbait. The Swimbait works the best. If you haven't used one, it's got a great tail. This bait here is a Swimbait, and inside this also has a weight inside it. There's an actual weight. So when you rip this up for some reason with a lot of bass, you can put another one on it and take off, and the weight would be completely submerged inside the worm, or inside this bait. Now the one thing I like about the Swimbait, because of that, I think the bass can come up and hit it, and they're feeling nothing but the padding, the little rubberness of the bait itself, and they'll hang on to it a little bit longer, a little bit more like a worm. But 9 times out of 10, when I have hooked something with this, because I'm reeling it fairly fast, and when it's coming in and the little tail is wriggling back and forth, they hit it. They hit it pretty hard, and they set the hook. I like the big exposed hook. That works great. And I got a couple different sizes, a couple different weights, and you got to have a couple different colors, you know, and again, lighter, heavier, and a nice little tail. It's simple. If you're fishing with someone who hasn't fished a lot, this is a great bait to start them out with because you can cast it out there, reel it back, no stress, no pain, no problem. Now you can make up, here is some regular fish-like plastic baits that you can use your worm hook that you would normally use on your other worms in your tackle box, and use those and weight them right through. You can use a weight here, hook this worm right through there and tie it to the end so it comes like this, and there you go. You got your own swim bait, and then you can have a lot of different colors, a lot of different sizes, and make it on call. So you got to have a number of different baits like that. Almost all your bass hooks that you use for worms and other big gap hooks will work real well with these other swim baits. Even a big jig hook would work well. The other things I have in there are the little tails. These little tails are like little jigs, I guess, you know, jig tails like a crawdad. You can hook this on, I've hooked this on spinner baits, you know, cut different sizes, use spinner bait. I really like that tail. I think, and I've had so much success where that little tail is behind anything you're fishing with, whether it's a big jig or whether it's a spinner bait or whether it's a crankbait sometimes using it just right. You can actually get more hits on it because that little tail becomes more alive to the fish and strikes it. So having a number of these in different colors to use on not only on jigs, like they're kind of designed for, to put it on a heavy jig and let it drop down, you can put them on many things, and that's what I'm saying. I'm encouraging you to do that. Try them on different things. Here's another one, black, these colors. You know, these colors are solid. I mean, I like dark colors when it comes to light or bright days, and light colors when it comes to dark days. And the big reason that works is because of the way it silhouettes on the top surface of the water. Now, the next one I want to show you here, this is pretty unique. I don't have too many of these left, but what this does, and I'll try to explain it to you, but this worm here, and this again was sent to me for a trial, and this is kind of like when you get a model car or something like that when you was a kid, they came in parts and you had to break them parts off. Well, this is kind of the same way. It comes like that same way, and you have to kind of break off the center there because that molding is what holds it in position until you're going to use it. And then once you're ready to use it, you can pull this worm out, and this is a rotating, flipping worm. And what you do is, you just like any other, you can put a hook on here. You can hook it through a weight, you know, a weighted hook or just a plain hook, and you can cast it out there. Let me see if I can show you just how this works, because it's quite unique. And it does work, amazingly enough. When you cast it out there, it comes down like this. It opens up the tail as it goes down from the water. And once it hits the bottom, this tail will actually slowly move back into that starting position, all the way back like this. And you cast it again, it goes down, and this starts rolling back up. So it's like a lizard or something that's under the water, and you're actually getting movement for it. You're actually getting movement as this comes up. And so that's a great bait to use when you know you got fish. You looked on the depth finder, you know there's fish down there, and only a few feet or right on the bottom, and you can cast it pretty darn sure that you're getting close to them, and you let it sit. Now the hard part is to let it sit. You got to cast it out there and let that come down and sit on the bottom. Now, that's true for so many plastic baits that I can speak of. If you watch my other videos on any other kind of worm you'd use, you know, like the Berkeley power worm in that with the tail, casting it, letting it drop down, and then let it sit. Because what happens on almost all kinds of baits like that, and the way you fish it, when you're not reeling in like a crankbait or even like the any bait like the tail that needs that action to move, you drop it down there, the actual action of the tail as it falls to the bottom, that's what draws the fish. He comes over there and he looks at it, and then you move it, and that's when he hits it. How many times have you moved the bait and you thought, oh, I'm snagged, and it turned out to be a fish? It's because he followed it, came over, and hit it. So don't fish it too fast. When it comes to plastic on worms and fish or plastics like this, don't fish it too fast. Be patient. Let it go down. Let it sit there for a second. Let the actual excitement to excite the fish on the fall, not so much on the movement. The movement's after it takes place. You can't have too many here. I have miscellaneous ones that I didn't know exactly what to do with, but I'm not getting rid of them, so I put them in here. There's some long, like crawdads. Here's another. Well, this is kind of unique. If you've ever used this is made for the flying lure. Flying lure is kind of cool, and if you've ever seen it or used it, this is kind of an old bait, but it's a real gimmicky, but it does work, and I have used it. You put a hook in this, and it actually goes forward. When you pull up on it, it goes forward. Well, you have to have a really light line, and you have to have a light line and a real light touch, because it needs to have that to be able to float forward. It does work, and I have caught bass on it, and I tried it. I was already catching bass, doing a good job, put that on, so I caught another bass. So was it the attraction of that, or was I in the right spot? I don't know. But I tell you what, get some plastic, different kinds of plastic. You'll find you can use them everywhere, and a lot more lures than what you think. They don't always have to be a sole by themselves lure. You can use them and attach to many other things. You be creative. That's the whole part of having so many plastics. Well, hopefully this gave you some ideas. And until next time, this is my tackle box.